What's up, everybody? Good morning and happy Wednesday, December 13th. Dan Kasper Show up and rolling early this morning. Appreciate you tuning in wherever, however you're tuning in. If it's on the radio dials, 105.1 FM, 790 AM. Also available online, Sports Talk 1051.com. Stream it up over there. You got your app, you got your Google and Alexa home devices, and video stream up and rolling right now, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. Happy Wednesday. We are making the turn on this week already. What do we got on the good old game plan for us here this morning? We got to do a segment that we're going to be doing every Wednesday at 8:05, brought to you by Security Financial Bank, but the business of sports. And we're going to be kind of breaking down some of the business parts of maybe contracts, salary caps, try to explain some of that. And can't be a better time than this difficult, confusing, interesting, unique Shohei Ohtani contract. So more info coming out about that. We're going to debut that segment coming up at 8:05 every Wednesday. We're going to be doing that. So perfect timing, though, as we mentioned, with that Shohei Ohtani contract and more details coming out about that thing. And then apparently the Giants offered almost an identical type of contract to Ohtani. But he's a Dodger, and all the excitement and hoopla surrounding that. It is Stock Report Wednesday, too. So whose stock is rising, whose stock is falling? You can start to hit us up with some texts at 715-830-1912 on that Shoe Doctor's bullpen line here this morning. So who do you think stock's rising, falling from the last week, from the last Wednesday when we first did that? So we're going to talk some hoops. Bucks are going to be back in action tonight, taking on the Indiana Pacers, a Pacers team that knocked out the Bucks in the semis of the in-season tournament. So we'll hit that up. Bucks tip off tonight at home against the Pacers, 7 p.m. A little drama filled last night in the NBA. You had Draymond Green throwing haymakers. He was ejected, spinning backhand. Then you had Jokic tossed in the game against the Bulls last night. So, yeah, you had a couple of drama stuff going on between a couple games there last night. So, but we'll talk some hoops and take a look at the game tonight between the Bucks and the Pacers. Badger football has a new quarterback, it sounds like, with the transfer portal in full swing and players going elsewhere. Tyler Van Dyke, the former starting quarterback of the University of Miami. Throughout his collegiate career, the first 3 years about this, 7,500 career passing yards, 56 total touchdowns. Apparently, the Badgers tried to land him a few years ago when he was going through his recruiting stuff. But it sounds like the Badgers going to be bringing in another veteran quarterback, competing for a starting spot next year. But this past season as a junior, he threw for a little over 2,700 yards, 19 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. Against North Carolina, number 12 North Carolina, he threw for 391 yards and 4 touchdowns. So he was the 2021 ACC Rookie of the Year when he completed 63.7% of his pass attempts for that's okay. Some other stuff. I gotta imagine, since he spent some time in the ACC, Phil Longo is probably familiar with him. I would imagine. But per Pro Football Focus, Van Dyke received a grade of 75.5 last season. So 32 games of collegiate experience, and as a starter, he owns a 15-13 record. Will he be in competition for that starting spot for Braden Locke or Nick Evers, or Evers? We'll see. But it sure seems like maybe he came over with some reassurances that he'll get some plenty of playing time here. But there's your another new Badger coming through the transfer portal. So, what else? Speaking of football, Packers will return to practice later on today as they get set to prepare for their matchup against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. A little bit more of a typical work week here for the green and gold. But perhaps the biggest story out there in the NFL world, nothing really confirmed yet. I mean, even if you go to the mothership, it's not on there. It's not on as a main headline or as a top headline, if you will. But reports out there saying that Bill Belichick's gonna get let go after this season. Apparently, the Patriots have already decided. Robert Kraft has already decided that he's going to move on from Bill Belichick. Apparently, according to reports, Robert Kraft made that decision after the teams lost the Colts in Germany. Nothing, obviously nothing really confirmed by the Patriots and such at this point. But one of the top coaches of all time, perhaps on his way out. This was from Tom Curran of NBC Sports in Boston. He said, when they came out of Germany, conversations I had that week made it very clear that a decision was made. They were going to play out the string, and at the end of the year, there would be parting of the ways for a variety of reasons. Just because they won last week in Pittsburgh in primetime, I don't think it quells anything. So now you got maybe some fan bases out there wondering, perhaps wishing that Bill Belichick will come to their ball club and be their coach. I don't know if any of you were listening to Maggie and Perloff, who were on before we turned on the mics, and they had a caller, Packers fan, calling in saying he wants Bill Belichick to come in and be the coach for the Packers. Wants him to teach up that defense, and this is the part I'll respectfully disagree with that particular caller, but to help mold Jordan Love. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if that's necessarily Belichick's forte right now. I mean, we can look at the current quarterback situations going on the last couple years in New England and such, but I that ain't happening. I mean, I'd be willing to. How about this? I'd be willing to put down G-Man's 401k if G-Man's listening. I'd be willing to put down G-Man's 401k that Bill Belichick will not be coaching the Packers next year. I'd be willing to also bet that he won't be a defensive coordinator for a team. I don't think he'd go down to that. But you got some teams now, you got some fan bases kind of wondering, hey, can we potentially land the head ball coach, Bill Belichick? Chargers are going to be a big one. Perhaps Washington with the Commanders. They're going to be one over there too. Maybe the Raiders. How ironic would it be if, the whole Brady partial ownership comes to fruition with the Raiders and Bill Belichick goes over there to be the coach and Brady's essentially Belichick's boss at this point in time? I guess never say never in that aspect, but I don't what would if you were a general manager, let put yourself in this position as the general manager for, let's say, the Chargers, because the Chargers have their quarterback, Justin Herbert, right? They've got their quarterback. So put yourself in the position of the Chargers right now. Would you do all that you could, and say Belichick is available, would you do all that you could to hire him, to bring him on as your new head coach? You're the boss, okay? You're the person that's making these decisions. And you're looking for a new head coach, because I think we would all assume that the Chargers are probably going to be looking for a new head coach here. And you've got your quarterback. And you've got some pieces to work with. I think a lot of us would probably probably say the same thing that the Chargers the last couple of years have under. So if you have a chance to hire somebody like Bill Belichick, who is up there in age, but obviously has had a lot of success, not in the last couple of years, but in the past, would you bring somebody like that on board? Or are you of the mindset like, hey, you know what? We got Justin Herbert. I might want to go with an offensive minded head coach and bring him in. Or maybe you're just like, nah, I think maybe the game has passed Belichick by. No, I'm not gonna go all out and try to convince him to be the head ball coach for our team. So put yourself in that position. Put yourself in that position. How much has that maybe shine worn off on Belichick from these last couple of years? Because I don't know if any of you watched College Game Day from this past weekend when Belichick was a guest picker, game picker, and McAfee over there called Belichick, best coach of all time and best general manager of all time, which I don't know about that general manager part over there. I don't know about that one. That one is at best debatable for me. But what would you do? What would you do? I'm genuinely curious. Again, put yourself in a position, not necessarily for your favorite team, unless you are your favorite team is the Chargers and you're listening. But you got some pieces. Okay. You got some pieces in play. Would you hire? Would you do all you can? And probably have to pay, $10 million a year. And the thing is to remember coaches' contracts don't go under the salary cap in that. So maybe that's not a big deal. But I'm genuinely curious to see how the rest of you, would do that. I'll give you my opinion coming up a little bit later on here. All right, I'll give you my opinion coming up in just a skosh. So, all right, let's get things going here this morning. We got a bunch of stuff I want to hit up. We got obviously some college football with the Badgers bringing in their new quarterback. We got some hoops talk with the Bucks in action tonight. We'll hit that up. Obviously, some football talk here too. We'll mix in a little green and gold chat. Don't forget to give me your stock reports. All right, whose stock is rising and whose stock is falling. We'll even throw in some Brewers chat report out there from Bob Nightingale that it sounds like Brewers are gonna stick with Corbin Burns, at least to begin this season. Good with that? Good with that? Nah, they're not expected. Now, again, things can change, right? A lot of things can change. But just the other day, Bob Nightingale saying the Brewers are now expected to retain Cy Young winner Corbin Burns instead of trading him, still wanting to compete for the NL Central. I guess kind of put yourself in that general manager role too for Brew Crew. Would you do the same thing? Would you do the same thing? Keep him, or do you just kind of move on right now and try to get some impact players that you control for a little bit? So we got lots to hit up on, but I really need you. All right. So start to hit me up with some texts. I'm genuinely curious to get your thoughts on some of these. 715-830-1912. Let's take our first break here this morning, and we will get things going on this Wednesday morning. Quick break. We'll be back in just a couple minutes. Before we get going here this morning, want to give a big thanks, shout out to WQOW 18 this morning. They're literally about maybe 20 feet outside our studio door right now. Doing some coverage of our Backyard Dreams event tonight, where we're taking some kiddos, taking 10 kiddos Christmas shopping tonight. Big thanks to QOW for helping cover that. But a bigger thanks goes to all of you who have supported Backyard Dreams this year, the last couple of years, because if it's not for you, we wouldn't be able to take some kids Christmas shopping tonight. So it's all of you who have helped and supported Backyard Dreams that we're able to take some Christmas shopping. So it's you guys and gals that are the ones that are helping provide for a very Merry Christmas to some families and to some kiddos this year. So thank you to all of you. It's all of you. So we appreciate all the help that you're able to do to help these youngsters out. So big thank you to all of you, and again, big thanks to QOW who's helping spread some word about Backyard Dreams for us here this morning. All right. Got an interesting question from a texter. Give me your name if you don't mind, because I'd like to give you your a little bit of credit there too. But this texter said just a little bit ago, who do you think of the Packers rookies that we have seen from this year will go on to have a better career? I know there's a lot of ball game left to be played, but from what we have seen, the early returns so far, which of these rookies do you think the Packers, or which one of these rookies for the Packers do you think will go on to have a better career? All right, so I'll throw it back to everybody else. Give me a couple minutes to think about that one. But I think, when we've seen this draft class, and C-Bomb, I know had posted this in our Facebook group about the draft class. I think it was last week, about, so far early returns look pretty good. That Goody put together a pretty good draft class out there. But I guess, this texter asking you fellow listeners to maybe look in your crystal ball of this draft class. Who you think, if you had to play some future bets, I guess, right? If that's kind of where I'm gauging this here a little bit, if you had to play some future bets on this thing, who would you think is going to go to have the better career? If you had, I guess, power rank them, what would you say? Would you power rank them? So, all right, give me a little bit to think about that. I'll make my pick at the top of the right before the top of the hour, if you will. So, a few of you already chiming in about the good old Billy Belichick question that we threw out there. A couple of you saying that you don't want him in Green Bay, even if you had that opportunity. This is from David. David saying that no, thank you. I think the game has actually passed him by. I do not want him in Green Bay. Eric saying only if he would come as a defensive coordinator, which we would already know that answer to. Other than that, I'll pass. For a couple others of you out there saying if you were the Chargers, you would not. This is from Nick. Nick saying on our texting line that if I was running if I was running the Chargers, I would be looking at bringing in an offensive-minded head coach to help out Justin Herbert, and then really focusing on hiring a defensive coordinator so they can strictly focus on that underperforming defense. Me, to kind of answer the question I threw to all of you out there, I don't think I do. I don't think I do. If I was running the Chargers, I don't think I do. Which I know is kind of weird to say for a guy who's had so much success, but I just, the Chargers are going to be the odds-on favorite. You look at a lot of the betting lines out there. You look at a lot of the over-unders or whatever, the lines, and Chargers are going if Bill is available, which according to reports apparently he's going to be. He's going to be parting ways, or the Patriots are going to be parting ways with him at the end of this season. If he's available, Chargers are probably going to be the betting favorites. And I wouldn't be surprised if the Chargers at least inquired about it. But okay, let me ask you this. Let me turn it around here. You could have Harbaugh or Bill Belichick. Who would you do? Who would you hire? I'll flip it around a little bit. You could have either Belichick or Harbaugh. Which coach would you hire? If you maybe are the Chargers, would you hire Harbaugh, who's, obviously he's had some success with the 49ers when he was over there. We know what's going on with Michigan and such. He is a former quarterback, offensive-minded guy. It was working with Alex Smith for a little bit, then Colin Kaepernick. Would you pair Harbaugh with a guy like Justin Herbert? Or bring in Bill? The thing is like, here, I'm kind of, more stuff's coming through my mind as I'm getting through this, but like if you hire Belichick, I honestly feel like his offensive coordinator is going to be Josh McDaniels. So if you hire him to the Chargers, McDaniels perhaps goes with him to be the offensive coordinator for Justin Herbert. So, I mean, does that draw a little bit more appeal? Or do you go with Harbaugh? You have to pick between those two. No, you pick between those two or pass, and then give me another name you'd throw in there. I don't want to pigeonhole it for the rest of you. I'm genuinely curious to see how. I mean, Harbaugh had success with the 49ers. It's been a hot minute since he's been in the NFL, right? It's been a hot minute. Could he still work? I think he still could. I mean, I look at maybe like a Pete Carroll situation. Pete Carroll was in the NFL for a bit, goes to USC, has success there, comes back, has had success with Seattle. I do wonder, though, sometimes is Harbaugh's antics better suited, or personality maybe better suited for college? But I don't know, because, Dan Campbell's kind of got a similar type of personality and mindset, and right now it's working with the Lions. I think it honestly depends on the franchise and the team itself over there. Huh. I don't know. I'd have to think about that. A couple of you chiming in. You're going with, looks like the popular pick out there is Mr. Jayden Reed. Jayden Reed, for a lot of you that you're putting your futures bets on for the Packers rookie class this year. In case you need some refreshers on who that or who's part of the rookie class. Obviously, you got Lucas Van Ness, who's the first round pick, right? We've seen him in some split time, limited role, kind of a backup edge rusher. Could he potentially be a starter as soon as next year on the other side of Rashawn Gary? Maybe. You got Luke Musgrave, you got Jayden Reed, you got Tucker Kraft, you got Colby Wooden, you got Sean Clifford, Dontavian Wicks, Carl Brooks, Anders Carlson, the kicker, Carrington Valentine, Anthony Johnson Jr. Maybe we'll see Mr. Grant DuBose, the 7th round wide receiver out of Charlotte, because of the injuries this year. We might perhaps see him on the active roster and getting some playing time this year. We've got Jayden Reed and Luke Musgrave are the popular picks right now. Those are the top two. We do have a couple of you saying Dontavian Wicks. Got a couple of you going with that pick. I think it's Musgrave or Jayden Reed. I might as well tell you my pick right now. I think it's going to be Reed or Musgrave. And by the way, the texter who sent that over, big thanks, Adam, for that message. Wanted to give you some credit over there. I think it's going to be Musgrave or Reed. But the thing is, too, is like the wild card one. I don't know if you necessarily call him wild card because he's a starter right now. But like Carrington Valentine, flash forward to next year, has he already cemented himself as the starter opposite Jair? Like, I know there's some people on Packers social media and all that saying, fans saying that Packers should trade him and such and move on from him. And I don't think that happens. I think if anything that they probably restructure his contract and move a lot of that money into a that typical bonus money. And once they do that, I mean, he's not getting traded at all. I think Jair's with the team for at least the next couple of years. The interesting cat in this whole thing is Eric Stokes. I think they still want to see what they got in. They're not giving up on him or such, but like, it'd be nice to see him back on the field and see that growth from him. I mean, he's in his third year right now, but he has missed a ton of time after a solid rookie season where he was thrusted, into a lot of playing time right away because of injuries out there. And he had a nice rookie season. Then he got hurt last year, and then we haven't really seen him at all besides a couple of snaps on special teams this year. But I think, now with styles of defenses, with nickel defenses, with that third corner, when you talk about starters, I consider your top three corners starters. I know it's not a base defense, but still. So I think maybe the other one in there that right now hasn't gotten any votes, is Carrington Valentine a long-term starter for this Packers team? Top three corner. I think he is right now. I honestly think he is right now. I think he's a top three starter for the future, assuming everybody's healthy. But I mean, I said it at the beginning of the year before the season started. I was really high on Jaden Reed. I think it took a little bit of time to kind of find, for Matt LaFleur to find how to properly utilize him. I'm high on him, but I think Luke Musgrave is going to be really good too. My future bets, the ceiling, I think, or the projection is going up for those guys. Still, Lucas Van Ness is taking the Rashawn Gary path where, first year, did Rashawn Gary do anything on that field that gave us any clue of what type of player he was going to be? No. Lucas Van Ness has made a couple good plays. Week one, running down Justin Fields. That's a hell of an athletic play. Then he makes some boneheaded plays like he did Monday night. Really got suckered in on that, was it that read option play? But that's a rookie, right? Those are some rookie mistakes over there. What are you going to do? But hey, keep your picks coming. All right, keep them coming. We got plenty more to get to from your texts on that Shoe Doctors bullpen line, 715-830-1912. Threw a couple of them at you. Adam threw out this question a little bit earlier. If you had to look in your crystal ball, which of these Packers rookies that are getting a lot of playing time this year do you think is going to go on to maybe be the best of the class? Best of the class. And that you look at it, I think when you kind of look at this group and you're like, yeah, a lot of those guys are playing significant amount of time or have in the case of Luke Musgrave, Van Ness, Musgrave, Jaden Reed, Tucker Kraft getting a lot of playing time and really taking advantage of that. Colby Wooden has been a solid player on the defensive line along with Carl Brooks. Dontavian Wicks has been showing right now. Anthony Johnson Jr. Really, when you look at their draft class, not counting the players that were undrafted rookie free agents, the guys that were actually drafted, and assuming maybe Grant is a call up for Sunday's game because of the depth at wide receiver, only one rookie will not have any playing time for Green Bay this year. And that's because he's not on the team. And that's their 7th round pick, running back Lou Nichols. But keep these coming. 715-830-1912 on that Shoe Doctors bullpen line. We're going to take a quick break. We'll wrap up the first hour coming up in just a few minutes. G-Man's going with the Badgers as stock risers, and the Bucks will win tonight. And number 9 and number 33 will be playing on Sunday when we win against Tampa. 30-14, the Hall of Famer G-Man says. PS Brewers are going to win 97 games next year in World Series champs. Also says PSS, thanks for your work for Backyard Dreams. I get to listen to the number one sports talk show in Wisconsin, your show. Oh, appreciate that, G-Man. Appreciate that. And they just showed you on QOW. Nice work. Go Pack, go. No, that thanks goes to people like G-Man and everybody else who has supported Backyard Dreams. That's how we're able to take some kiddos Christmas shopping tonight. Because if it's not for you guys and gals who have supported Backyard Dreams, we can't do it. So it's all of you right now who you are the ones that deserve all the praise and the credit for helping out. So big thank you to all of you for helping out. We appreciate it. And I know the kiddos are going to appreciate it tonight too. So. All right. So who's this Tyler Van Dyke character? New quarterback for the Badgers. This is from CBS Sports, calling him one of the top available quarterbacks in the transfer portal. Tyler Van Dyke committed to Wisconsin, giving coach Luke Fickell experience at the position heading into a new look Big Ten next fall. Van Dyke was the number 12 quarterback available in the transfer portal, according to 24/7 Sports. We went through the numbers a little bit earlier. This year, he threw for a little over 2,700 yards, 19 touchdowns, but also 12 picks. That was more than the previous 2 years combined. So an interesting part here, too, it says he raises Wisconsin's ceiling. When Wisconsin hired away Fickell from Cincinnati, it signaled a shift in the program's offensive philosophy. Wisconsin once prided itself on its punishing ground game. One of Fickell's first move was to bring in former North Carolina offensive coordinator Phil Longo and install a more air raid style attack. Van Dyke has never shied away from taking chances and pushing the ball down the field. That gunslinger mentality could help him succeed in a more pass-happy scheme. Interesting. So, I don't know how this is all going to play out. I mean, the college football thing is so. When you come to quarterbacks, it's such a tricky game. I mean, we know once in a while, like, okay, that dude's going to be good. You get that. But there was a lot of us that thought, hey, Tanner Mordecai, interesting. You look at the numbers, what he did down at SMU with this new offense, and that's like, oh, okay, yeah. Excited, and probably didn't live up to the expectations for a lot of people. Now, I'm sure maybe there's a little bit more familiarity because Phil Longo was with North Carolina, ACC, Miami, and such, so I'm sure he's a little familiar with him. Maybe a little bit better suited there. But I hope he's good. I hope he's going to be a good player for the Badgers. I just I really don't know. It's so hard to gauge some of these transfer moves or even some of these college players when they get to that point. So hopefully, but I think right now, if you were to do kind of a quarterback depth chart, he's probably number one. Then Braden Locke and then Nick Evers over there. So I don't know if it's necessarily an open quarterback competition. And do you factor in, like, yeah, Big Ten's going to be a little bit different next year with Oregon and USC coming into town? Do you want to kind of ease on in with a more experienced quarterback at the helm? Possibly, like the article said on CBS Sports. But, we'll see. We'll have to wait and see how that all approaches here. So, a couple more of you chiming in with your picks for just kind of having a little bit of a fun question over here of the Packers rookies, of this Packer rookie class right now. Thanks to Adam for sending this over. He wanted to throw a question out to all of you listeners, so feel free to chime in. Of the Packer rookies that we've seen so far this year, whose future stocks are you buying right now? The top two picks out there are Jaden Reed and Luke Musgrave. Those are your top two. We did have a couple of Dontavian Wicks picks over there. Maybe we might have to put, how do we do this? Put like a handicap on it or something, or pay, so and so's got a share of like a 5 something, and maybe like Jane Reed's a 5, and then Dontavian Wicks is a 3. So if if we really want to get into a stock game here, we can put like, okay, I'm going to buy more shares of Dontavian Wicks because that's going to have more return. Okay, that's a little too complicating. Never mind. But you get the idea. Jane Reed, Luke Musgrave, the popular picks over there. Dontavian, about third. Not a ton of picks for Lucas Van Ness. And I get it from a lot of fans out there. I get that. Because you really haven't seen a whole lot. But I hope that we have learned our lessons over the years and are not too quick to throw in the towel on a guy like Lucas Van Ness. I mean, recently it was Rashawn Gary. A lot of people didn't like the pick right away. A lot of people didn't like the pick after the first year. He's turned out okay. That's the hope. That's the hope, right? We'll see. It's a wait and see approach. So I'm not ready to throw in a towel at all from Lucas Van Ness. Has he been perfect out there? Absolutely not. Has he made some nice plays? Heck yes, he has. Has it been a lot of them? No. But let's be a little patient with him. All right. Let's be a little patient. Okay, going to the question, if you could choose between Harbaugh or Belichick, if you were running the Chargers, because the Chargers are the popular team when it comes to making this question, because they've got their quarterback in play. And I think a lot of people assume too that the Chargers have underperformed in the last couple of years. I'm one of them who believes the Chargers are kind of like the Angels in baseball to me, where it's like they've got talent, but for whatever reason, whether it's been managing, whether it's been coaching or bad luck or whatever, they just haven't hit that potential. They haven't reached that potential. So that's where you've got, with the report that Belichick's not going to be back next year. He's going to be the odds-on favorite. When you look at the betting lines, his name's probably going to be attached to the Chargers line. But if Harbaugh is available too, if you're running the Chargers, who'd you go? Based off the text that we've got, I won't go through everybody's response, but based off the text we got, it's about 50-50. It's about 50-50 right now. I feel like if it were good old Billy, he's probably bringing in a guy like McDaniels to be his offensive coordinator. I don't know if he's going to necessarily bring Bill O'Brien with him over from New England, considering what's going on right now. Harbaugh is already the offensive-minded guy. Had success working with quarterbacks with the 49ers, with Alex Smith and Colin Kaepernick over there. But it's about 50-50 from all the texters right now. If you haven't chimed in, I'm genuinely curious to see if we end up getting a majority. You got to pick between maybe those two. Yeah, let's keep it to those two over there. All right. So we'll get to those results. We'll keep you posted on how everybody's voting on that. Coming up next hour, we'll do some stock reports. Usually we do the stock reports around 8:05, but with our new segment, Business of Sports, coming up at 8:05, Security Financial Bank, we'll move up stock reports to about 7:45, so a little bit under an hour from now. We'll hit that up. Play along with us. Whose stock is up and whose stock is down from last week till now. All right. We'll hit that up. We'll talk some hoops. The Bucks back in action tonight, taking on the Indiana Pacers. A little bit of a rematch. It is a rematch, but a little revenge from last Thursday when the Pacers ousted the Bucks in the in-season tournament. I doubt that'll be a motivating factor, but I guess you never know. But that game tonight, 7 p.m., and last night was a game that saw some drama across the NBA with Draymond Green getting ejected again, throwing a turnaround, a haymaker, and then Jokic getting ejected in the Bulls and Nuggets game last night for arguing a non-call. So a little bit of drama surrounding the NBA there. But we'll chat some hoops with the Bucks coming up next hour too. We'll hit that up. Plus Brewers, according to reports, Bob Nightingale, USA Today, saying the expectation now is Corbin Burns will be with the Brew Crew. There's a couple things with that. One, it could be completely true. I personally feel like they're going to hold on to Corbin Burns to start the season. And then if it goes south, they trade him. Two, that could be just a completely false statement. Three, that could be a team like source saying, hey, can you throw this out there because you know what? We're not getting the deals we want. You guys, if you want them, you got to up the offers. You got to up the offers. So it could be a few different things, a couple different things there. Do you agree with the plan, though, to keep Corbin Burns right now to begin the season with him? Or do you think they should move on from him, get your prospects in right away, just kind of start the retool? Because as Bob Nightingale said in his post, too, that Brewers expect to still try to compete for the NL Central. Think about that for a little bit and then let us know. 715-830-1912. Couple minutes left to the top. Good morning, Morgs.
Hey, we get to watch you on TV.
Yeah.
You're all dressed. You're a sharp dressed man today. Got your coat on. You got some button down action. It's going to be good.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
When you were a kid, toy shopping, were you a spend all the time in the toy aisle kind of kid, or did you know exactly what you wanted, or did you go and like look up and down? And
Turtles and Batman.
That's it.
Yep.
Turtles and Batman.
Turtles
you still
and
have
Batman.
most of that stuff though, right?
No. I know. I'm really disappointed in that.
See, the girl version of that to balance the scales was My Little Pony and Cabbage Patch. I remember.
You weren't a Barbie?
No, was not a Barbie girl in a Barbie world. Not at all. Wednesday wildcard time, though, so you get to pick a number. We're going to spin a roulette wheel here. We're going to go 1 to 27, pick a number, and we'll get you to chime in on some of these questions of the day.
We'll go a little 14.
Is that your lucky number?
No, but it's Hudson's now because Don Hudson wore 14, so he's all into football right now.
Okay, so. Do you think he's going to keep it?
No.
What's your lucky number?
I don't know if I had one. Like when I was a kid growing up, I went from 12 to 13 to actually, I might have gone 14. No, it was 12 or 13 because I had a system.
What was the system for lucky numbers?
12, if you reversed it, was 21 for Dion.
Okay.
2 had Shaq's because Shaq was 32, so there was a 2 in there to represent that. And then 1, Penny Hardaway wore 1.
Oh, so you had like a representation system going on. That there was a lot going on beyond just that 12.
Yes. And then when Shaq went to the Lakers, it moved to 13.
Okay.
Because then he was 34. 3 plus 1 is 4. 1 still had Dion.
You're like working numerology here. This is fan math at this point. You know what I've come to decide as a parent of kid in sports and all sports? The number one pick for if it's basketball, everyone of course wants 23.
Yeah.
But once you shake away that, you know how most of these kids end up picking their numbers, whether it be for volleyball or softball or any sport, their birthdays.
Yeah.
That's 100% it. Siggy's 19.
That's June 19th. Hudson's not on there yet. It's either 14 or 11. 11 is because his new favorite Packer player wears 11.
But he's not going to take up Dad's 12 or 21 or numerology.
Or 23. And even not like LeBron, no.
No, so he's got his own thing.
Yep.
That's not so bad, though. Yeah. And he could use 14 in basketball because you can do it on each hand. So there you go. He might have carved out his own little niche there. Okay, but the actual question, lucky number or not, what's your go-to guilty pleasure? Cranking up the Spice Girls and dancing around your living room?
15 seconds here. It used to be just binge watching The Office.
That's not guilty pleasure. That's like research. That gives you research to get through the day in any given life.
I can binge some documentaries. That's my guilty pleasure.
Okay, Dwight.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. Eat some Battlestar Galactica.
All right, here we go. Second hour on this Making the Turn Wednesday. We got stock reports that are going to be due coming up a little bit later on. News segment Wednesday brought to you by Security Financial Bank, the business of sports, which I know I specifically picked Wednesdays to do this because of Luke always thought we should do like a salary cap podcast. Well, here we go. We got a segment for it now.
Nice.
So there you go. Perfect timing, too, because that Otani contract, right? We'll be breaking that down coming up at 8:05 here this morning. We'll get back to some football talk. We got baseball talk as well. And hoops, Bucks back in action tonight, taking on the Indiana Pacers. Little revenge game, as the Pacers were the team that ousted the Bucks from the in-season tournament in the semis in Vegas last Thursday. Let's do some sports nuggets of the day here. 1949, the American League rejected a revival of the spitball, which had been outlawed since 1920. 1956, Jackie Robinson was traded to the Giants for pitcher Dick Littlefield and $35,000. Robinson retired instead of accepting the trade. 1966, the rights to the first 4 Super Bowls were sold to CBS and NBC for a total of $9.5 million. Detroit in 1973 became the first city to receive a franchise for the World Football League. What else do we got here? Oh, yes, because the other day was the anniversary of this happening, but the game was actually played today. 2010, the Giants and the Vikings played at Detroit's Ford Field. The game was moved due to the collapse of the inflatable roof at the Metrodome. Still remember the security cam footage of that.
Mm-hmm.
Seeing that's over there. We've got Gary Anderson kicked 6 field goals in a game against Baltimore, your Vikings. In the game, Anderson set an NFL record for 34 straight field goals without a miss, but we know how that postseason went.
Yes, we do.
We've got Marshall Faulk in 1998 set a new Colts record for total yards from scrimmage in a season. And then I think that's about it. Yep, those are just some of your sports nuggets of the day. I want to throw this question out, and Luke, you'd be a good one too, but I want to throw it out to everybody. So I saw Good Morning Football posted this, and I'll give you a little bit of a backstory. So remember I kind of joked around, I wanted to do like a 90s type of podcast?
Yeah.
Oh, I kind of want to do like 80s, 90s, early 2000s, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And I've been trying to find a name for it. So I was looking up some slang from back in the day, back in those days. Well, Good Morning Football just posted a question, what old slang phrase needs to make a comeback? So they posted theirs out there. One of them that I keep going back to is what Kyle Brandt posted, all that and a bag of chips.
Oh, my gosh.
Like, I need some good, what were some good 80s, 90s, early 2000s? Like, my buddy is going to say booyah.
Okay, that one deserves a comeback.
Yep.
I mean, I could just go with all the Stuart Scott ones. Like, any of those would be fine.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, gosh, of course, I'm thinking off the top of my head, like, what are some of the better ones? 80s, 90s, oh, gosh. You know, is it okay to say not again?
Maybe.
Yeah. Not. I ever so often over the past several years, someone will bring it out, and I'm like, are we past the wow, that is so uncool part that it's kind of acceptable again? Not that I would always be using it, but I think that one could come back. Oh man, what did you have a go-to?
No duh.
Oh yeah, I think I used that for a long.
Yeah, because I was trying to think about that the other day, and I had to Google them. Then I'm like, oh, okay, I kind of remember those, but yeah, no duh was a big one for me.
Do they have a list?
You could Google a list.
What day do they do that?
What do you mean? What day do they do that?
Good Morning Football.
Oh, they did it this morning.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Fat PHAT.
Okay.
Was a big one over there too. So
okay.
Yeah, I don't know. The one that McCourty posted was jump off. I don't necessarily remember that one.
I do not remember. No, that one does not. That doesn't ring a bell at all.
Mm-hmm.
No. Oh man. Like slang of the 90s. See if I can deep dive this a little Talk to the Hand was a solid one. Let's see. Oh snap! The Bomb.
To bomb, yep.
That's kind of up there with Not as one that was kind of cool for a little bit, and then
Well, then you had the old Was Up.
was that
Yeah. I don't know. I'm going back to Booyah or All That for the name.
See, Booyah immediately makes me think of Stuart Scott.
Exactly. That's good for me, but that's exactly where I go back to too.
Right. So then people think that it's like a Stuart Scott podcast.
Right.
It'd be awesome, but it's not a tribute to Stuart Scott.
Right.
So I think the other one, what was the other one again?
All That.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't like the bag of chips part, but
see, I was always thrown off in the bag of chips thing. Do you remember All for One?
Yeah.
And they after they had I Swear, all the big hits, then they had a song called She's Got Skills. And there was one line in there, she's all that and a bag of chips. And that was like one of those moments of like, okay, this isn't cool anymore. Stop. Yeah. But all that, you just leave it to that. I think you're good.
And it covers everything.
It does.
It covers everything.
Yeah.
All right. I might have
it's all that. I mean, literally, it is all that.
Yeah.
I think you have your answer.
I think I do too. All right. On that note, let's talk some more. So I threw out a question earlier in the first part of the hour, and it's been about 50-50. So the report that Bill Belichick is not going to be back next year. There's a report from Tom Curran, who knows his stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
Apparently mentioned on Monday that what he's hearing, it was decided after the Germany loss that Robert Kraft is going to be parting ways with Bill Belichick at the end of the year. So we know the betting lines are probably going to be the Chargers as the team if Bill wants to coach next year.
Yeah.
I threw out the question, would you rather have, you got to pick between these two, if they're both available, Harbaugh or Belichick, and you are running the Chargers? Who would you pick? Part of it, too, I feel like Belichick would hire McDaniels to be his offensive coordinator for Justin Herbert. Whether that helps the cause or not, I don't know.
That
but
might actually be okay given the narrow focus of what Josh McDaniel would be doing.
Mm-hmm.
I can't believe this. I think I might actually prefer Jim Harbaugh. Just now, I am something so does not seem right with Belichick right now. I mean, maybe with a whole lot more talent, but how much control would he then demand?
You know what would be incredibly ironic is if the whole Brady ownership thing happens with the Raiders and then Bill goes over there to coach his boy Jimmy G and Tom Brady's his boss. That would be awesome.
Oh my gosh.
That would be so cool.
That would, I mean, in terms of scenarios,
you have Brady in the owner's box on a game and, Belichick on the sidelines and the Raiders stink. Then all the cameras are going to be on Brady to see a reaction and all that. It's going to be unbearable.
Especially Chiefs Raiders games. So you got like one camera on Tom Brady, and basically the entire game is a split screen of Brady and Taylor Swift, with the game being kind of ancillary in like a tiny box in the lower middle of the screen. I would actually take Harbaugh though. I was impressed by how he's performed at other stops in San Francisco. I think now, if this were like, say, 15 years ago, I'd take Belichick. 5 years ago, I'd take Belichick. It's where Belichick might be now, and I'm wondering if the game might have finally gotten past him. Maybe. I want to be wrong, but I'm afraid of that. Of course, maybe this is the scenario where Harbaugh has everything blow up in his face. I mean, it is the Chargers after all, and they have a franchise-long history of stuff failing. So I don't know that either one's really going to work. Like neither is the ticket to their Super Bowl.
And the reason I kind of brought it up too is because in Maggie and Perloff before we were on the air, I know a lot of you probably weren't awake yet, but there was a caller that called in because they were talking about Belichick, obviously. This gentleman tried to make the case that his Green Bay Packers should hire Bill Belichick
Hmm.
as new head coach over there,
Interesting.
because he wants somebody to teach how to play defense, but also to help mold Jordan Love, which I don't know if that's the best case for Bill at this point, considering the last couple of years in New England.
No.
And gentleman said the last time we've had a really good defense was back when I watched him in 1967. So, yeah, he did kind of mention 96. That was a pretty good defense over there too, led by Reggie White, which I am so looking forward to the 30 for 30 tonight on Reggie White, the Minister of Defense.
Nice.
I know.
Reggie White.
I'm gonna have to stay up again late because it's 8 to 10. So.
Ooh.
But it'll be worth it, I think.
Totally.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of a misguided call there.
Mhm.
There's a little bit of also if the Packers win, if they don't allow the Giants to go right down the field, maybe that phone call is not made. I mean, that reeks of recency bias.
Mhm.
No, I mean, okay, if Matt LaFleur were gone for whatever reason and Bill Belichick were hired, what would you think? Bill Belichick is the 2024 head coach of the Green Bay Packers.
Who's the offensive coordinator would be my big question mark. And if it's Josh McDaniels, I don't know.
Are you out?
I mean, I'm never out on my team.
Right, of course. But
it would be really weird because you have Belichick coaching Lombardi's Packers. You know what I mean by that? Because those two have always been kind of really compared, Belichick and Lombardi.
Like, I think it'd be really cool, like as
from a historical,
from a historical standpoint. I think
the fact he might break the wins record being the coach of Green Bay.
That's true.
You know, trying to break Shula's record over there. I wouldn't be giddy about it. I honestly wouldn't, because I'm kind of like you. I kind of wonder if the game has passed him by a little bit.
And if he asks for more control over Brian Gutekunst, then we're back to the New England situation.
And this is where I will respectfully disagree with Pat McAfee on game day when Belichick was the celebrity picker from this last weekend Army-Navy game, where McAfee called him the greatest coach of all time and also the greatest general manager of all time. Yeah, I don't know about that general manager part.
No,
I disagree with that one. There's been some questionable decisions.
For a while, it actually seemed like that he was pulling it off. The not that common coach GM.
Yeah.
In retrospect, post Brady, this is back to the is it Brady? Is it Belichick? Well, I'm wondering now if it really was Brady that was bringing up a lot of the retreads that would come in. I mean, not that Belichick was a total bum either. He did have Pioli as his right hand man. How much was he really kind of the GM? How much do you divvy all of that up? But as time has gone along, I'm waiting for the full assessment. What's the book? Not the Wickersham article, which are great, but that's not enough. Maybe the Wickersham book that recounts the Brady Belichick era, the aughts and the tens of the Patriots. And then I think we're going to probably get somewhat of an idea and answer it once and for all. And I don't think it's going to reflect that great on him as a general manager.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Interesting. But do you think if he does get let go, you think he's going to coach again next year?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either. And I feel like the letting go is going to be one of those quote unquote mutual, departs, if you will, departs, mutually both decided to depart from each other. I don't see it. I can't. Would that be weirder than seeing Brady in a Tampa Bay jersey? Is seeing Belichick coaching the Chargers?
Yeah. Especially
or Washington or wherever it may be.
Yeah, I think to a certain extent it depends on the team. Like Belichick coaching the Giants.
Now, see, if they had a legit opening, I could see that one.
Yeah,
like coming full circle sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
I could see that, but they're not firing Brian Daboll for Belichick next year.
No, yeah. Like the first thing I think of, and I know it's because it's the Chargers, so I'm thinking of classic NFL figure associated with, well, for the most part, one team. I'm thinking Johnny Unitas with the Chargers.
Yeah.
And that's not fair because it's the Chargers.
Namath and Rams, maybe too.
Yeah, we're getting into Emmitt Smith with the Cardinals,
Yep.
all of that sort of stuff, and seeing Belichick in a powder blue and yellow hoodie.
But the thing that would be even weirder though with Belichick, that is if he does break the record, and he did it with not the Patriots. That'd almost be like Emmitt Smith breaking the rushing record with the Cardinals.
It was not that far from that happening.
No. You know what I mean, though? Like, he's breaking the record. And it's like, oh, but it's with a team. You know, it just, I mean, maybe comparable like Brady winning a Super Bowl with Tampa Bay. It still kind of was weird.
But that did happen. And I think we were collectively, ultimately, okay with that happening. I mean, Belichick's got to get wins. Several. This can't be the Chargers have another. Chargers can't charger again and end up 3-14, something like that. I mean, they wouldn't be going forward like, okay, Belichick's there, and I know he's known for some risky moves over time on the field. Fourth down, there's that one famous fourth down in an unfortunate situation, but he's not going to do like 4th and 13 from his own 25-yard line in the third quarter. Like Brandon Staley's. No, he's not going to make those stupid moves. Well, arguably stupid moves, I should say. So he would win more, I do believe. But then, okay, so what if Justin Herbert tears his Achilles in week 2?
Right.
Then what?
Yeah.
I mean,
maybe Jimmy G is his backup.
Maybe he trades, but yeah. So I wonder if since he does seem to respect NFL history enough, if he goes, look, if he thinks I'm not into this as much anymore, do I want to be hanging around some franchise like the Panthers, which I know that's turning into like radioactive territory. Like, who's going to even want to coach there next year? But especially, let's take out the Tepper factor. Still, the Carolina Panthers with head coach Bill Belichick. Oh my gosh, that would seem weird. As an example, I think
Reggie White with the Panthers,
right? Yeah. Like, does he want that to be? He might actually go. You know what? I'd rather not have the record because it just wouldn't seem.
Well, I mean,
right.
Bruce Smith broke the sack record with Washington,
right?
So
yeah, so
I still consider him a Bill.
Mm-hmm. On the other hand, if he thinks he can get to the record and that's the most important thing, then he's going to do it.
Did Jerry break the receiving record when he was with 49ers?
Was he with the Raiders at that point?
That's what I'm kind of wondering.
I think it was with but I don't remember because, gosh, he bounced around so many teams.
Yeah, he did towards the end there. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, thinking of Chris Carter with the Dolphins and stuff like that. So no, I don't think I'd want to see it, and I'm not sure that he's going to do that.
Yeah,
but I cannot say with any certainty one way or the other.
To try to get into Belichick's mind is kind of, I don't know. The other part of me though too is like I could see him, the ultra competitor that he is. Like, I don't want to end my career on this season.
Yeah,
how bad it's been. You know, does he go out for a couple more years, try to get those wins, but ends on a little bit of a higher note?
Yeah, and
I don't know.
There is something to be said for that too. That I mean, I think a good. I mean, now we're into that whole like, do you end on a high or do you end when you want to end? Like with Favre, and when people were like, retire before you play bad. Well,
not everybody can do a Manning or an Elway.
No,
I
mean, I have always advocated that if a player, and I guess in this case, a coach, wants to play or coach as long as there's someone to take them, and even if they want to be a backup, as long as they want to do that, they should. It's not dependent on us. Be like, no, you need to retire because we don't want. Look,
I don't want to be the person to tell somebody to stop doing what they enjoy doing.
No, and that happens way too often in sports. I get it. It's the entertainment part of it. We're looking at it from as fans. because all of this is nothing but entertainment. So it kind of wrecks the storyline. I understand that. It wrecked the Favre storyline. It was supposed to be a nice ending, going to the, oh my gosh, these are the Jets. No, he's totally ruined the storyline. But he wanted to play. There was some revenge involved, but he also wanted to play football. I think Brett Favre probably, if he hadn't gotten fully injured, like I could totally have seen him being like a backup quarterback somewhere at age 46 because he just was like, I just want to go out and play. But it doesn't work that way, unfortunately.
Yeah, not everybody's like the elite Joe Flacco out there. So
see, that's the other part of it, where you have a surprise storylines happening over and over again. So no, I Belichick to the Chargers just seems weird.
Well, he's a single man now too, so he's got nothing holding him down. So
hey,
never know.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, let's take a quick break here. We're gonna do stock reports a little bit earlier, but we got about 15 more minutes till we get to that. So send yours on over. Text us 715-830-1912. We'll take a quick break here and be back with more after these quick words. Bucks are back in action tonight. Tip-off 7 p.m. Coverage will begin on your radio dials at 105.1 FM and 790 AM at about 6:30. And as we know, tip times for the NBA are, well, they're not accurate all the time. So it'll probably be a little bit after 7 p.m., but coverage will begin at 6:30 on your radio dials. Again, 105.1 FM and 790 AM. Bucks going up against the Indiana Pacers tonight in a rematch from last Thursday when the Pacers ousted the Bucks in the in-season tournament. Overall, in-season tournament success?
I'd say, yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Be tweaks going down the road, but it worked.
Yeah. I think the biggest thing was that the players bought it.
Yes.
Players bought in. In case you're wondering, the Lakers are putting up a banner. It's going to be like a different color. It's going to look different than their championship ones. And if they do win more in-season tournaments, they're just going to add years to it instead of putting up new banners.
Probably the best compromise for that.
I think so. Yeah, I think so.
I think to a certain degree, if they had said no, the NBA would have been like, really? So you're basically saying this isn't a big deal? No, it's the Lakers. It's a little different with all of the other banners that they have. They and the Celtics are in different camp. No, I found myself watching the Bucks Pacers semifinal game. Like I had it on TV. When am I watching an NBA game late afternoon in December? Outside of Christmas Day, I'm not, but I was watching that. And
I did find myself kind of maybe rooting more because Hutzy and I were watching, rooting more for a game at that point in time in the season than I probably normally would have,
right, exactly.
If that makes sense.
I was paying more attention to like the fight. Like I didn't watch the second one and I didn't watch the championship, but I had like the notifications up. So I knew what was going on. If I needed to break, at least I wanted to know more than an average game. So mission accomplished there. And what would you change for next year if Adam Silver sent you a text?
I would agree with Damian Lillard. New court designs.
Yeah.
I know that's minor.
But a lot of people were bugged by it. Like, I mean, it's kitschy in some ways. It wasn't the worst thing in the world, but yeah, I think they went a little overboard, especially with the whole like the courts were causing the Lakers and the Pacers to have to change their uniforms.
Yeah,
that like okay, now we've really we're in a Spinal Tap moment here. So.
Yeah. I don't know, and we've talked about this before, and I don't know how you necessarily make it perfect, but it was kind of confusing to follow to see who was going to make it in or not towards the end. I mean, if you were to tell a general fan that, hey, the Bucks and the Lakers are in it in the Final Four, you'd be like, okay, yeah, I get that. And then you're like, also Pacers, Pelicans, like, huh? How did they get in it?
Yeah.
Maybe it's just better explanation or better. I don't know exactly, but I feel like, to tinker it a little bit is maybe to explain how those teams got in or come up with a different process to get the teams in. And I don't know exactly what that would be.
Yeah. The ESPN like NBA Insider article, like where they pulled in insiders on what would you do for this? What would you do for that? And the most complicated one was like the divisions.
Yeah.
And getting in, you want to avoid having teams that know like they're eliminated on the last night of play. That sort of for the round robin part of the issue is the number of teams you have right now. You kind of have to divvy them up the way they are, because if you really want to do it like World Cup style, you kind of need 32 teams. Well, that's pretty much a lock, but that's not going to be for another 3, 4, 5 years probably. They'll figure stuff out. I anticipated it to be slightly different next year. I also want to see some more incentive for winning it.
Yeah.
But what that is, like, again, like a certain playoff spot seems a little too
you're saying like clinch a playoff spot?
Right.
Okay.
But I think that's too much for essentially winning 6 games in the early part of the season. How many teams go on like a 6-game winning streak in the early part of the season and then they end up with like the 5th worst record in the league? Like it's easy to do that, relatively speaking. So, but I think there's something I heard. Oh, which pod was it? Andrew Brandt's podcast, one of them yesterday was saying you have like an extra first-round draft pick for the winner, and then like
that would be
second one would get an extra second-round draft pick, which would just get traded probably.
I was gonna say, watch out, OKC might want that first-round pick. So
probably for the 7th straight year, the Oklahoma City Thunder have won the in-season tournament. They now have 20 first-round draft picks next year.
I mean, but it seems like the players were good with, getting the cash, which is big. $500K.
They really wanted the cash.
Yeah.
My gosh.
So incentive. If the players are buying in, I think that's the big thing, isn't it?
Yes.
If the players are buying in, fans are going to buy in.
Ratings were up. That's so people were clearly engaged at home. Like you were saying, you were watching the games. I was watching. So that had to have spread to other people. There was no, the counter to this or the counter example is there were no examples that I could see. I wasn't deep diving Twitter, but there were no examples of like, hey, this is uncool. No one's watching that. Sometimes you get that sentiment out there. Some people that are just being jerks about. There was none of that.
There was. I'd say this. I didn't care about the in-season games. Like the specifically scheduled games that went towards to qualify for the in-season tournament.
Mm-hmm.
Those didn't make me watch those or pay attention to them more. But once the tournament started, then I was more into it. Yeah, if that makes sense.
The semifinals?
Yes, the semifinals. The regular season games that meant to it, that didn't move the meter for me. Those 5 games, I definitely got to watch this one. It didn't do that, but once they got to semis, it's kind of like March Madness for a lot of people. They don't watch a whole lot in the regular season, but as soon as that tournament starts, boy, they're big time college fans then.
Yeah, and you kind of have to know when they are like I think I said before. Right after the tournament started, and there was that Timberwolves game. Like, ooh, are they gonna if they win? Yeah. Oh, this is a regular game. Oh, well, good. I'm glad they won. But I thought this was a tournament game because the other tournament games the day before, and I wasn't paying close enough attention to the schedule. So I think the schedule needs to be made a little more clear. I know the NBA through the courts promoting the use of the city alternates. Except when it clashes with the courts. That's part of the whole when you're watching the game, well, also in advance to know. And I don't know how much really needs to be done on that because diehard fans are always going to be. I think it's trying to get people that are just slightly less than diehard fans. But if that gets a little bit more talk going, it works. And it kind of did this year. So they'll make some more tweaks.
Let me throw out this scenario. You'd have to have a bye for each Eastern and Western Conference team. But if you want to make divisions a thing again, would you just take your division leaders at that point?
Wow. Well, and again, you have the
because then your in-season tournament games, your 5 can be against your division opponents, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, in essence, we would have had Boston, the Bucks, and Orlando as your 3 in the East. Best one there maybe gets the bye, tiebreaker scenarios, whatever. And then, winner between the 2 and the 3 takes the 1. Same for the West. So your Timberwolves would have been in the Northwest Division. Right. Kings, Pacific actually would have been above the Lakers. And then Southwest would have had Dallas in there.
Because you had 8-4-2. So then this would be essentially,
you'd have to have a bye for,
maybe there's a wild card in there somewhere.
Yeah.
And that could still get you to the quarterfinals, semifinals, finals.
Yeah, you could do a wild card in there too, yeah.
So maybe
you're expanding it a little bit.
Yeah. I mean,
because really divisions, who gives a crap about divisions in basketball?
No.
No, they don't. And if that's something they want to do, because I think it's maybe confusing, so you're telling me the 2 teams in the East that were in it were both from the Central Division? Because they were, Bucks and Pacers.
Yeah. Which, wow, cool. I had no idea, even though they are in that division together,
right.
But we don't care about that. Maybe the problem I could see, and I don't think it's inherently a problem in terms of the tournament, but the problem is that if you're taking the division winners, even if it's at the end of round robin games, if you're if you're out to a bad start, like a Memphis style start, what's the point of even playing in the tournament games to begin with? Because you can't catch up in the course of the tournament. You'd almost have to start from the very beginning of the season.
Or on the flip side, what if you are a Memphis thing and then you talk about that incentive thing? That's how you clinch a postseason spot.
Yeah, if you can to become like the wild card, but maybe the one team that plays the then we're getting into tiebreakers again. By the way, the point differential thing is pointed out in that article. That's common pretty much everywhere else you have one of these tournaments. This is more of an American thing. This is back to like the whole, like, again, to take the soccer analogy, promotion and relegation internationally. That's what you do. In America, like, what? Oh my gosh, we can't do that. Same with point differential. It's common. Like in other sports around the world, that's not a sportsmanship thing. It's just like, okay, how many goals do you score? How many, whatever. But in America, it's totally a sportsmanship thing. It's, showing up the other team. And that's why you ended up with stuff like Billy Donovan saying that. But that's because that's the culture. That's what's accepted. But what's your other tiebreaker going to be?
Yeah.
So look, if they made no changes going forward, they will be fine.
As long, though, as I think a big part, though, too, they did have a draw with the Lakers and LeBron. They did have a draw with the Bucks and Giannis.
They were a little fortunate this year that it worked out.
Because what if it was Pacers, which I know Tyrese Halliburton, his stock is rising.
And actually, a Halliburton's coming out party, I think it really helped that Halliburton did as well as he did during this tournament.
Right. But what if it was, say, those 4 teams that nobody knows or doesn't have a superstar on there?
Yeah.
Then is it as attention worthy? I don't think it is.
No. If it's like the Cavaliers, the jawless Grizzlies,
the Nets,
and
even the Kings,
to be blunt. I mean,
or even the Rockets. I mean, they're 11-9, so I mean, they would have had a shot.
Yeah, but one of those teams were like maybe the Bulls because it's Chicago, but you're like, okay, I thought that would have been more of a problem. So yeah, they were kind of lucky that if you were to choose one team to win for pub, it's the LeBron James Lakers right now.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was perfect, but it won't always be that way.
No.
And they're obviously, the league's not good. I mean, for anyone who's in conspiracies, no, that's not going to happen. There's going to be a year when the in-season tournament is won by some team. You're like, wow, who? But, well, that happens in other playoffs, too. It happens in the NCAA tournament. Okay, so it's going to happen. But it's off to a good start. At least they got a foundation for this, and it's never going away. It will always be part. So if someone doesn't like it, sorry. If you do like it, cool. But it will be tweaked. I can just about guarantee that.
Yeah. All right, let's take a quick break, and then stock reports. We'll hit those up coming up in just a couple minutes. Coming up just past the top of the next hour here, new segments, business, sports business, brought to you by Security Financial Bank. We'll hit that up. And then at the back end of the 8 o'clock hour, we got our picks and predicts segments brought to you by the Elbow Room in Eau Claire. But we finish up this second hour with some stock risers, stock fallers. Luke, who's your stock riser for this week?
Tom Brady.
Okay.
His whole play of the NFL doesn't look the same. It looks more prescient all the time. 3-0.
I thought you were going to say something about his baseball card and, autographs and all that stuff.
It might literally be stock.
Maybe even getting back together with Giselle, apparently. So, yeah.
Whoa. Yeah.
That was all over my Twitter for some reason the other day.
I'm
so
sorry.
Yeah.
I'd be between that and, look, it's not like NFL play sucks. There's plenty of greats. I mean, if you get right down to Malik Heath's touchdown, like, wow. But, gosh, there's a lot of really? What are you do? I mean, how many examples can you point to from this past week? Between, all things in 3-0. Yeah, and there was a lot of good defensive play in that game too. It wasn't all sucky offenses, but there was a lot of sucky offensive play in that Vikings-Raiders game. The Barkley stumble, I was tripped up, but really, the giant where the ball bounces off of him and the Packers get the ball and awareness. Hello, Kadarius Toney. Need I say more? Whether this is actually, and again, what's the reason? I don't know, and I'm not speculating on that, but Brady's point looks more and more appropriate week in and week out, and I know there are more injuries, so that that's going to cause lesser players to have a more important role. So you're going to have a lesser quality of play, understandably. So when the best are not playing, but gosh, there's a fair amount where I'm like, do I really want to devote my time to watch this? There are some really good games out there too, and they're always going to be, but. There's enough times you're like, what is happening here?
Yeah. My stock riser, I am going to go with another quarterback, but Will Levis with the Titans, with that performance on Monday night to help lead his team to a come-from-behind victory against the Miami Dolphins in Miami, over 300 yards passing, 60.5% completion percentage over there too. But I'm going to go with his stock going up right now.
Yeah.
That was a big time moment in his rookie season.
Solid performance given the context of it. Yes. That fourth quarter comeback was huge.
Stock fallers.
Well, speaking of watching football, the bowl games, not the college football playoff. How many times do I have to read a preview of a bowl matchup, and it's like, well, with losing all of these players to the transfer portal and these other players that have gone for the NFL draft, I'm like, what team am I even watching? Should we just skip the bowls and do the payouts at this point? And I know that you get practice, but okay, cool. So, I'm kind of not that jacked to watch any of these bowl games. Now, will that stop me from picking all 42 bowl games plus the college football national championship on Friday morning? Heck no. Of course, I'm all in on that. But then actually watching them, and I know they'll get decent ratings because it's, college football bowl games, but they don't have all the players that got them to the games in the first place. Everyone's transferring, and I don't want to sound like, they're all transferring. They're not all, but there's enough of them where when you read the previews, there's usually a qualifier in just about every preview of, but this player is gone, this player's left, this player's left. What? But that's not the team that made it there, that earned the spot in the first place.
Right. My stock faller, the Chiefs, and specifically Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid. It was not a good look on Sunday. I get frustration. I understand that. And we've all been there before where, maybe say some stuff in the heat of the moment and that. But at least they kind of walked back some of their comments on, Monday morning after what they saw on Sunday. But that wasn't a good look.
Nope.
That was not a good look. Especially since everybody was bringing up, what happened in the Super Bowl, holding pass interference to help them with the touchdown at the end. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Just saying. So I understand heat of the moment. That's happened to the best of us too, but it wasn't a good look. it wasn't a good look.
Nope.
So
Nope.
that's my stock follower.
And
there,
it's
too.
tougher when there's so much attention being paid upon the individuals.
Yes.
It's a lot easier when maybe you can like step out of a room or if someone pull you aside. There, I just kind of have to let it play out, and there's no one really to stop you.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I know. Like you said, we've all been there when we've done something, and in retrospect, we're like, wow, I way overreacted to something where I should have been like, well, actually.
Yeah.
But we also aren't on, we don't have CBS broadcasting what we're doing.
We don't have to go to a press conference immediately afterwards and all that too. So
millions and millions of people watching us, and then you get lost in the moment of that. And yeah,
which I will say, I put it up on Twitter, but I will say, for all the flack that the officials have gotten the last couple weeks, and I know I might be a little biased, but it was the correct call.
Yeah.
To let the Barkley fumble go, to let that play go. That was huge.
Mm-hmm.
That was huge. That was the proper call.
It was.
And for all the flack they got, you got to give that crew credit for that play.
They got that was a tricky one.
Yep.
It's the follow through thing, which,
because how many of us, I thought he was down. I think everybody thought it was like, that's not a fumble.
Mm-hmm.
Like what are they doing? Like they got it right.
Mm-hmm.
They did it exactly right.
You kind of have to see the whole thing through. But yeah, that by the letter of the law, that's what it is. So yes, that was accurate. I mean, the punch out on the touchdown, which of course then the Packers got a touchdown anyway, but the punch out there, I mean, there was that third step, which again, that gets into the whole side note.
I didn't think it was a touchdown, to be honest with you.
You did not?
No,
because again, it was that third step. This does get back to that whole thing of, there's so much complexity to explain the game of football. It's kind of a minor miracle that it's become as popular as it has.
Well, what I immediately thought of from that, and to feed off that, is like, how can that be a touchdown? But I keep going back to the Calvin Johnson one, controlling it all the way to the ground sort of thing.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like,
what's the definition?
Yeah, I'm like, oh, crap. If that's a touchdown, then I'm even more confused of what's a touchdown.
Right.
Okay, 2 feet down, make it. But I'm like, but there's other instances where it's so confusing.
I know. And yet, I think they got that. Like, I agree with you. Like, as I'm watching the replays, I'm like, yeah, he did get 2 feet down, but as he's about to get the third on the ball, that's kind of, if you're going to be literal.
Yeah.
Yes, they got that right.
So confusing too, because like you go to a tush push, Jalen Hurts jumps over the pile. As long as that ball crosses, it's a touchdown. You can punch out after that.
Right.
But it's like, oh, good Lord. Can we just do it like we do in recess at school? Just make it that way.
Well,
just make it simple.
Yes. Okay. Is it now? Right.
Let's do some common sense in this thing.
And there's not a ton of it. Yeah. But they did. You're right. There was a high profile situation. You could have gotten a few really wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And they got them they got them right there. So credit to that ref crew.
Yep.
And I mean, credit to Carl Jeffers's crew. They got the Tony thing. It was, I mean, come on, you really shouldn't screw that up, but they got it right.
Yeah.
They absolutely got that right on Tony.
Yep. I totally agree. I totally agree with that. It's just, it's kind of boggling my mind to see how many people are so upset about them making that call, though.
Well, it's correct.
I know. Even
so
like
correct.
analysts out there saying you can't make that. I'm like, why? Why can't you?
What standard are we then going to set if you don't? What? I mean, and I get I think they're trying to make a variation of the Hail Mary and everyone's pushing each other around thing.
Mm-hmm.
But at least there, it's kind of a 50-50. It's like, all right, it's rugby now. But not that you can't just blatantly line up off like that. Like, what?
Mm-hmm.
Come on.
Yeah.
This wasn't like the edge of the shoe barely touching, getting into one of those like, oh gosh, you think instant replay is bad here? You should hear like Premier League folks, and VAR is what they call instant replay in the Premier League. Oh, people hate it with a passion. And you get stuff like millimeters of stuff and stuff gets overturned, but then it's like the wrong thing. This was so obvious with Tony. What were you going to do otherwise?
Right.
No, you have to call that.
I agree. All right, 2 in. We got one more to go. New segment time. We're going to explain this Ohtani contract the best we can. It's confusing. It's complicating. It's weird. It's unique. It's all those words.
Yeah.
We'll be back after these news updates. All right, here we go. Final hour on this Wednesday morning. Big thanks for tuning in wherever, however you may be tuning in on this December 13th. We've got a new segment brought to you by Security Financial Bank. We're going to get to here in a second. The business of sports. We've got some picks and predicts at the back end of this hour, brought to you by the Elbow Room. We'll get back to some more football talk too. Got some baseball chats related to our upcoming segment here as well. Don't forget, you can join in the conversation. Hit us up at the text on that Shoe Doctors bullpen line, 715-830-1912. All right. So what is this new segment to the business of sports? Well, we're going to try to explain some of the difficult parts of the financial side of the sports world, typically salary caps, player contracts, that sort of thing. And perfect timing with this because of the Ohtani contract, right?
Mhm.
So we're going to do that. But as Luke knows, and probably a lot of people know, I hate math, but I love the NFL salary cap. I love
Ironic.
I love explaining that. It's a very unique thing. So when we get to like players and free agency and contract restructures and all that, what's that salary cap hit? What's dead money and all that? Well, we're going to explain all that when that pops up there too. So I have no idea why I enjoy the salary cap, figuring that out, because I do hate math.
See
I sucked at math.
It's like me and like gambling lines. Like, there's no freaking way I'm ever gambling, but I love analyzing. Like, why is the line this way? That sort of thing. That's your thing. Math and salary caps, which it's appropriate that we're starting with Shohei Ohtani because this is the closest I've seen, and there have been other baseball deals like this, but this is the closest I've seen in terms of prominence to an NFL style deal with deferred money and
pushing it in the back end,
right,
kind of sort of thing.
And all of these sort of taxes, like the player value. I'm getting the exact names of the taxes wrong, but all of these other taxes mean, well, it's $2 million, but actually it's $46 million, but actually it's, and your head spins.
So we know it's from reported, Ohtani's got a 10-year, $700 million. And, when you hear contracts, whether it's a NFL, baseball, basketball, the immediate reaction is you do some simple math. 700 divided by 10. He's getting $70 million per year. That's what a lot of people think. And that's not usually how contracts work. Especially when you get to the NFL and you've got signing bonuses and what's the guaranteed portion, blah, 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 blah. Well, this is and we've seen in baseball contracts, deferred money. Everybody knows Bobby Bonilla's story. Ken Griffey Jr. is still a top 5 highest paid player on the Reds roster, for crying out loud. Bronny's got deferred money. He's going to get paid by the Brewers for a while. Same for Christian Yelich. I think we looked that up a couple weeks ago. He's getting paid through 2040 something, Christian Yelich with deferred money. Ohtani is unique in the aspect of, one, he went to a spending team, right? Big spending team, the Dodgers, but also the difference in deferral money compared to what he's going to be making in an annual salary. So this came out the other day. He will be making $2 million of his annual salary for up until 2034. That's $2 million per year. He's like the 17th highest paid player on his team, or whatever that number was I saw the other day. But the unique part is $68 million of his $70 million per year will be deferred, and that deferred money is to be paid out without interest from 2034 to 2043. Now, the unique thing, I saw Andrew Brandt talking about this too. Say Ohtani's done playing or something like that, does that money, say he's living in a tax-free state like Florida. A little bit more coin there, right? Potentially. A little bit more coin there. Maybe. And the unique part too, like a lot of people saying, inflation, you calculate inflation by the time he gets that, is it really worth, $68 million? It could be more in today's money, maybe 40-some million dollars. It could be a little bit down after that. Still, that's a pretty good chunk of change for deferred money per year, right? I mean, it's more than Bobby Bonilla's $1 million per year. I'd like $40 million to potentially sit on my butt and do nothing for the next 10 years. Now, the competitive balance tax here, or luxury tax, this is where it gets a little bit interesting. So the deferrals also give the Dodgers extra freedom in kind of going through this competitive balance tax. For competitive balance tax purposes, the expected average annual value on the contract is said to be about $46 million per year, according to people briefed. This is from The Athletic. So the $46 million average annual value is still the highest in Major League Baseball history, topping what Max Scherzer got with the Mets. Now, baseball's collective bargaining agreement makes it clear that there is no limit on how much salary a player and a team can agree to defer, and the agreement also includes, or the CBA also includes, a net present value calculation for luxury tax purposes, a calculation that estimates the value of a player's contract on a season-by-season basis. That's how this $46 million figure is determined for that luxury tax or competitive balance tax for Shohei Ohtani.
How is that? What are the metrics for determining? That's the thing that I've been trying to figure. Like, where did the $46 million figure exactly? How was that computed?
Yeah, that's I don't have that formula.
That hasn't been explained, and there have been a lot of explainers, and up to that point, I'm like, okay, and how? So is
you carry the two? It's a square root of, I don't know. Yeah.
Is this like if you average out the B war and the F war of a player and all of that, and it kind of goes to, well, he's kind of worth 46 mil. So is that how they came up with? I'm similarly a little like, okay, there's obviously an explanation. There's a reason why that number's out there. There is an explanation, but thus far it seems kind of, I mean, to some. Those of us that aren't in the accounting offices of Major League Baseball, it seems a little nebulous.
Yeah. So, for the 10 years that he does play for the Dodgers, it's a deal that could be thought of as being worth $46 million on average every year. When you factor in that competitive balance tax. But over the full, it's technically a 20-year deal, right? Because you have 10 years of deferral,
right?
Money on there. It is going to be that total of $700 million.
He will get paid that. That is correct.
Yes.
But
it's, so like throughout the 2 10-year periods, meaning Ohtani will make $2 million each year from 2024 to 2033, then $68 million each year from 2034 to 2043.
But there's also, and I wonder if this is part of it, wait a minute, is it the escrow? That the amount of money that the Dodgers have to set aside each year so that they don't suddenly end up in, because that would be some pretty bad debt,
right?
$68 million a year.
Yes.
So I wonder if that's part of how that value is, because, okay, you can put this much in escrow, set it aside, then they can do that. And I'll bet that's part of where the value
correct
comes into
play. Yes. It was Jeff Passan too, who also does a really good job of explaining it all, but he also posted up there the Dodgers players ranked in order of expected salary in 2024. Ohtani is number 17 on this list. He's number 17 on this list. But it's Jeff, excuse me, because Jeff Pass is my favorite MLB insider. I don't know who's yours is, but he's
right up there at the top. Yeah,
he's definitely on there. So, and as he noted too, as we mentioned, the CBA says that MLB can't cancel this contract. They can't veto it, right? Because there were some people saying, well, can the MLB, challenge it or even cancel it and do a David Stearns and, veto the Chris Paul type of trade sort of thing. They can't, because it is in the CBA that there is no limit on deferred money at this point in time.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that could potentially change. I don't know if that would be up for discussion. I feel like that's between Players Association and the MLB with their history of negotiating. That would be a little too hard to do at that point.
I mean, the bigger knock is probably on the agents.
Yeah.
That, and I know Brandt was highlighting this, like the agent wants that number, that figure, 10 years, 700 mil, so that their rep goes up. Well, then eventually,
but then they don't get that money. I saw Andrew Brandt say that too. The agent doesn't get that big chunk until when Ohtani starts to get that too.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they get the reputation. I think it was Buster Olney actually tweeted at Andrew Brandt. That agent could say, They got the first 500. They got the first 600. They got the first $700 million contract in history.
Yeah, it's about so it's branding going forward. Like, here's what I can get you next person.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, not that there's next Shohei Ohtani anytime soon, but next high profile guy or a Scott Boras. Well, I would think Scott Boras is confident enough in his abilities that he doesn't need to be like, hey, I got $700 million. Well, he's also he's effing Scott Boras. He can that's enough said. But that's how agents work. So I think there was, there's a fair amount of publicity in this, even if it was inevitable that we were going to know pretty quickly the details of this. It's a fascinating offer, and gosh, this allows the Dodgers to be quite competitive. I was wondering a little bit too, like, man, they are getting right up by so that's how they're going to do it. Okay.
Yeah.
They're going to be fine.
Jeff had also this long form tweet the other day. I'm going to explain why Ohtani's $700 million contract will not equal $700 million in terms of MLB accounting or present day value of the deal. When money in a contract is deferred, the competitive balance tax number, the luxury tax, is discounted. With a source saying a majority of Ohtani's contract is deferred, and this was before we found out it was that more than a majority, was almost all of it.
Mm-hmm.
The discount could be significant. Typically, a CBT number, competitive balance tax number, is the average annual value of a deal, in this case, $70 million. But depending on the size and the length of the deferrals, which we now know, Ohtani's number is likelier to wind up between 40 to 50 million a year range, which we now know is 46, apparently. An enormous benefit for the Dodgers. The deferrals also affect the net present value of the deal. There's a rule of thumb across all walks of life. Money today is more valuable than money tomorrow. Inflation being what it is. When you defer money, you're taking less. The Dodgers are operating in an environment in which the prime rate is 8.5%. And with the money today being so pricey, it lowers the present day value of the deal by a significant margin, which is another factor in this, which we kind of touched on a little bit earlier. Regardless, in the end, Ohtani will be paid $700 million by the Dodgers. It's an obscene amount of money. It's just going to be seen as less by the league's accounting and will allow the Dodgers to add even more around Ohtani. But I think that's the big part where Jeff mentions that too. You know, with the inflation, with money today is more valuable than the money tomorrow because, I mean, we've seen it throughout history, right?
Yeah, the value of the dollar. It's like the inflation calculator is one of my favorite things whenever we hear about, like, so-and-so signed a contract for $2 million in 1962. Well, what would that be today?
The best thing now is because we're around Christmas. I've seen this a few times. I don't know if you've seen it. To put it in perspective, the Kevin McAllister bought all those groceries for $19.99 in Home Alone, and it's now worth $70-some in today's world. I don't know if anybody else saw that on like Facebook. I've seen it a few times now because everybody's like, how the hell did he buy all that for like less than $20? Well, it's actually 70-some in today's world. So,
but that's what it was back then. Yeah. But it's equal. I mean, that's how it works. So the money that's inevitable. It's what's going to happen down the road with this contract.
So he is, quote unquote, by definition, taking less because he's deferring so much, right?
Right.
He's taking less.
The buying power with that is less. Sure.
Still a lot.
Yeah.
Still a lot of money, but I don't know if that necessarily makes people sit there and say, wow, Ohtani's a big team taking less money.
Well, and I mean, we've heard so many explanations of what he wants. He wants to win. He wants to be comfortable. He wants to be so much. And it's with Shohei Ohtani, I don't know that we're ever going to know because he tends to be somewhat reserved in those regards, in a personal sense. Fine, okay, that no problem with that at all. But I give him credit for putting a team that has plenty of resources, mind you, the opposite of poverty, but for not then hamstringing them so that they cannot easily compete to win. If you're going to make that much money, find a way to make sure your team can still compete. Then otherwise you're in a scenario like so many times a player gets a massive contract, but then the team is, because of the rules, they're the loosest in baseball compared to the other three main pro leagues. This will allow the Dodgers to spend as needed, but they are also a good developmental team. By the way, when I was asking last week about like which NFL team organization would you least want to be involved with? On the other side, if you were to be in the front office of a Major League Baseball team, the Dodgers kind of close, and take out Ohtani just in general. The Dodgers close to number one.
That I would least want to?
No, most
Or
want
most,
to
yeah.
be a part of.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot to like about the way the LA Dodgers run their organization, which 15 years ago, I don't think you necessarily could have said that back in the Frank McCourt era, 15, 20 years ago. But now, that is a very well-run organization. They have a lot of money, but they develop a lot of stuff. They're smart with what they do.
Mm-hmm.
They don't rely on being just a big market. I can't be all that angry at the Dodgers for doing what they do.
Do you feel like when I saw this deal happen and I saw, the amount of money and whatever, to me, now I feel like teams like the Brewers or other small market teams have to, I don't think we're going to see another player hit 700 million anytime soon. Or the total value of what Ohtani's contract is. I don't think we're going to see that anytime soon.
He's a unicorn.
But we're going to continue to see high contracts, right? 400 or 500 million per year, or not per year. That'd be, you know what I mean?
Right.
But I almost feel like, okay, this is just more of a case for teams like the Brewers to continue doing what they did with Jackson Chourio, for them to retain their talent and maybe compete against these bigger spending teams. It's riskier, but if Chourio hits all the marks that a lot of people are expecting, that contract could look like a bargain in like 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like seeing this kind of deal, this is what teams like the Brewers are now going to have to embrace a little bit more, is to invest a lot of money right away for maybe an unproven talent, but hope that the returns are bargains after that.
In lieu of a salary cap, that's really the next best option. It is, like you said, it's riskier, but that is a better way of being able to actually, keep your talent long term, and then understand that you're probably going to end up having to let those folks go when they're done. But then the best teams with this are going to be the ones that can scout really well when they're younger and hold these guys together long term. So you get like your Tampa Bay Rays,
Braves,
the Braves, and then again the Braves are getting them when they're already kind of started, but then they sign them to really long contracts, so there's a little less risk involved because you kind of know who you've got, but you're still getting them early. I mean, they still could peak at age 26, or they have a big injury knocks them out for 2 to 3 years. That's probably the best solution. So yeah, that's why like that contract for the Brewers I think was a good choice, given the circumstances. I think you're going to need to see more of that, short of small market teams turning into glorified AAA teams, which is bad.
Yeah.
We don't want that at all.
Who is the next player in line, like future-wise, for a big long-term deal? Do you know off the top of your head? Like, I don't consider Bellinger as that guy. He's going to get a big cut, but I'm talking like 10-year, 12-year, whatever sort of thing.
Oh boy.
Who's the next youngster?
Sport Track, the 2025 free agents. And I'm looking more like trying to figure like
because last year was Judge.
Juan Soto is going to be the big name next year.
Oh yeah,
that's right.
Yeah, Juan Soto. Okay.
But after that, I'm not seeing too many that like really are, oh my gosh. So no, I think that's about it. So next year could be a little dry.
Yeah.
I guess. Unless there's someone from overseas, and I know we're getting a lot of Korean or South Korean to be precise, Japanese players. The Yamamoto deal, I'm very curious to see what that's going to be.
Right.
And then looking at like 2026, again, like Kyle Tucker's going to be up that year. Luis Robert Jr. is going to be up that year. Presuming that there aren't, like other deals that are signed. Kyle Schwarber, though he's getting up in age, so I'm not sure
Yeah.
what he's going to bring. Starling Marte, but he's way up there in age.
I'd be curious to see what like the Baltimore Orioles do with Holiday, their prospect, number 1 prospect in baseball.
They don't sign players long term. I don't know what they're gonna do.
That's where I'm like, if you're Holiday and you see Jackson Cheerio signing that thing, are you a little like, hey, I wouldn't mind that, or are you like, you know what? I'm confident in my game that I'll take my lumps in my first few years, and then I know I'm going to make it big somewhere else.
I guess. I mean, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know. Gosh, there's a lot of uncertainty with all of this.
Yeah. Hey, breaking news before we go to break here.
Yes,
we've got the AFC and NFC Players of the Week.
Oh yeah.
Zach Wilson and Tommy Cutlets. That's DeVito, the quarterback. Yep, Giants. There you go.
You know, why not for Zach Wilson? I mean, he had a legit good game, beat a good team. Sure, good. And for Tommy DeVito, hey, if you're a Green Bay Packer fan, I think you need to do some jersey-related stuff because that's how you celebrate as a Packer fan. I'm very much subtweeting one Packer fan in particular right now.
Yeah.
My gosh. Hey, look. So, okay, take out Monday Night Football and Packer fandom. What do you think of the Tommy DeVito story right now?
It's cool, but I think it's getting overplayed really quick, really fast.
Yes, it is. And I love it, and I'm like, wow, this is already kind of old.
Yep. I mean, is it fair to say that his dad might have been on TV more than Tommy himself at times?
It's almost more than Taylor Swift per
game. It was
game.
more than Taylor than the Packers-Chiefs game, you know.
Yeah. By the way, yeah, I don't think I saw Taylor Swift on the bench. I didn't watch
They showed
the
her
Packers.
once at the beginning.
Yeah, that was like,
Yep.
I didn't watch a lot. I probably watched maybe a quarter of the game, but I was like, where's Taylor Swift? Like, props to NBC for not going all in like they used to, but what? Yeah, look, I mean, I love that it's like totally embracing the stereotype and all the Goomba thing. Like, okay, fine, that's fun and all, but he's got to back it up.
And
too.
I think we got the point. He lives with his parents, and his mom still makes his bed. Okay, we got that. We got it. All right, you know.
It's because it's also New York. That like this reminds me of Linsanity.
Yes,
It's a New York thing.
Yep.
Any of us, if you were there and you somehow became a folk hero, I'd be like, if it's you, Dan Kasper, you'd probably have people wearing ghost outfits, and that would be all we're talking about because it's New York. That will. It's a folk hero thing. There's nothing inherently wrong. Like there's no reason to dislike it. It's the hype thing that's getting.
and this is a perfect example right now. When you brought up Linsanity, and I remember this, and I just thought of this to look it up. What's his rookie card going for on eBay right now? Right? Because Jeremy Lin's cards were going unreal.
Mhm.
Well, right now, I mean, you got a wide range. You've got a 1 for 30, 1 for 40, 1 for 65. You got an autographed one, $2,000 or best offer if you want a Tommy DeVito rookie card right now. I mean, $500. You know, there's ranges all over the place. That tells you right now, like, and the thing is, some of these people are going to get that dollar value for these cards.
Of course,
They're going to.
it's how card collecting works nowadays.
It was like when Brock Purdy stormed on the scene too, and his card was going ridiculous. Now at least Brock Purdy is still playing well, but I don't think his rookie card is. I don't know how much if it's going for what it was last year. But I remember watching on ESPN because I was still in school where they're talking about, yeah, you go on eBay and you look at Jeremy Lin's cards, they're just going like thousands of dollars. And now you're probably lucky to get 10 cents.
Yeah. And now, again, the people that bought those, I would think they've done a good job of turning that around. They've found a way to make their money back.
I should really look, see if, no, I don't. But here's that for you kids listening right now, when you buy a pack of cards, just because you may not know that player, don't get rid of it. You never know. Then once you know you got Tommy DeVito out there and that stock is up, then you go sell it. Have your mom or dad go on eBay and post it.
Stock riser right now. How excited are we for the 5 interception game that's coming in? Like 2
you know
weeks?
it's coming.
You know, if on that note, now that the Joshua Dobbs era has, I think, come to a close in Minnesota, And
he hit his peak. He had a couple good games, like we
did.
said.
It's pretty
and
much what you would expect. And
Yep.
it was good while it lasted. Awesome guy. Bright future in whatever he does. That's good. If Joshua Dobbs had what happened in the Vikings, if he did that for the Jets, and there was a fair amount of hype that even came from doing this with the Vikings. Can you fathom the amount of hype, all the Pastronaut stuff, all of that, if it happened with, or the Jets or the Giants?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And we'd be like all sick of Joshua Dobbs. I don't think people are sick of it. They're like, okay, no, he's not playing well, fine. But at least we're not like, all right, enough already. Like we're starting to get with Tommy DeVito. I hope DeVito turns into something. It'd be cool if like we're actually seeing the beginning of this. It's probably more likely the Jeremy Lin thing. But hey, let's see how this goes and just filter out all the.
And I appreciate Brian Dable shutting down that one reporter's question, trying to compare already to Brady. Like, come on, let's do better, people.
Wow, I did not hear that. Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Stop, people.
Exactly.
Wow. Why?
Well, DeVito's just really good against Wisconsin teams too. Remember, he was with Illinois when Paul Chris got fired after that game.
That's right. Yeah.
So maybe it's just he's really good against Wisconsin teams.
I guess. Ugh.
All right.
Sorry, Packers.
Yeah. We got to take a break. We'll be back with more coming up after these quick words. Speaking of the Dodgers, looks like they're close to acquiring Tyler Glasnow from the Rays. So there you go, pitcher. Which shouldn't be too much of a surprise, right?
No.
You think Clayton Kershaw's going to be back with the Dodgers?
That has been a fascinating question. I would think so. But will that actually happen?
I don't know. I think he'd have to take less, and he might too. You never know.
Then again,
Or does he go back home to Texas? Because him and Matthew Stafford went to the same school together.
See, that's the big question with him. Like, he really values going back home.
Yep.
So I don't know that he will. If I'm going to guess, he would take a lot less money, because this might be like, if he feels he can contribute in some way, I think he would take less money to be part of this experience and maybe get another title. I think.
Speaking of pitchers, Corbin Burns, it sounds like the Brewers are going to hold on to him. Bob Nightingale saying the other day that Brewers, for the plan now is that he will be with the team, no longer talk about deals, and they still believe they can compete in the NL Central. There's three things with this, in my opinion. One, it's completely a false story out there. Two, I thought they would start it off with him and then maybe see how the season goes. Or three, the team is not getting the offers they want, so they're saying they're holding on to him to try to up the offers for Corbin Burns. So I still feel like he's going to start the season with the Brewers.
I would be at this point, yes. If I had to guess one way or the other, I agree. I think he's a Brewer to begin. I wasn't sure of that at one point, but yeah, right now, yes.
I feel like it's a wait and see sort of approach to see how everything plays out. Do you think they still can compete in the NL? I know Adam McCulvey, I think it was Adam McCulvey because it was on Brewers.com beginning of the week when our meetings wrapped up, said, now in the next couple weeks or so, it could be the time to see the flurry of moves. Because if you go based off history, that's when the Brewers kind of make the majority of their moves is shortly after winter meetings. And I know Matt Arnold said, the foundation has been built, to continue these conversations. I just don't know what else, like what quote unquote big moves would be out there. It's too hard to predict for, I think, a small market team.
Who are they acquiring via trade, right?
I mean, they'd have to trade probably one of their outfielders.
Yeah. I mean, they got enough to go around, but do you want to do that? Is that unless you're all in for 2024, which looks a little less appealing now in the post-Craig Counsell era, with the Dodgers looking like an absolute behemoth and the Braves likely to, as much as we can be like, whoa, see, all you got to do is barely get over 500, get the 7th seed, and you're going to the World Series. Yeah, well, that does happen, but also you can be a juggernaut, and the Dodgers could probably win 115 games. That they also likely would get to the World Series too. Gosh, we're getting back into perilous. Do you build for 2024? Or do you build to be kind of competitive through 2028 territory?
Yeah,
we're at that whole thing again with the Brewers.
Elsewhere, before we have to take our final break and get to our picks and predicts segment, the Badgers have a new quarterback. Was reported yesterday that they will get former University of Miami starting according to Wisconsin. I don't think it really moves the needle too much at this point. I think there's probably some familiarity because Phil Longo was at North Carolina, Miami, ACC. Sort of thing. I mean, you look at the numbers. He had 19 touchdown passes, 16 touchdown passes last year, 12 picks, 2,700 yards passing. He was the ACC player, rookie of the year in 21. I don't think it really necessarily moves. It's not like a Russell Wilson sort of thing coming over.
Is the bloom off the transfer thing with the Badgers that, last year was like, this quarterback is interested in this quarterback, and it was like, oh my gosh, we're going to have like 18 I'm being facetious, obviously, but like all these quarterbacks are going to come to Wisconsin. They're going to score 70 points a game. The results of this past season made Badger fans kind of almost whipsaw the other way of like, oh, great, cool. Like, all right.
I'm actually kind of surprised that it's a top headline on CBSSports.com. Former Miami quarterback Van Dyke taking his talents to the Big Ten.
Leaving Miami.
Yeah, and when you read it, it's kind of contradicts itself because It starts off by saying one of the top available quarterbacks in the transfer portal is off the board. And then it goes, Van Dyke was the 12th quarterback available in the transfer portal, according to 24/7. If he's a 12th ranked quarterback, that's not one of the top ones.
I mean, I guess how many quarterbacks were available?
Yeah,
Like, who's number 150?
Well, I think I just mentioned this yesterday. I saw Barstool posted this graphic on the 9th. There was like 106. So I guess odds, okay. But there's probably more at that point. So, I mean, your top 12 over 100, I guess. But
I mean, okay, so by that definition, it's true.
yeah.
I mean, is this like a Drake May situation event? I mean, that's big praise there, but is it like a Drake May thing where the team isn't that great, but the quarterback talent is really good at the NFL level?
Or maybe Michael Penix Jr.
Yeah,
Indiana
maybe.
to Washington, that would be the ideal one, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, 2,700 yards passing, 19 touchdowns, 12 picks last year. I don't know what, like, is it? That's where I don't get too pumped up or excited about, stuff like that, because it's so hard to gauge. It's so hard to gauge at this point.
I don't know. And how are they going to mesh into the system? I don't know. I feel like I want to see between the portal becoming a bigger deal every year. I mean, at some point we're going to hit saturation. It's not going to keep growing where there's like 10,000 transfer portal. No, we're not going to get to that point. But I kind of want to wait till we get to the full amount of transferring, and for the Badgers to see, like, maybe, honestly, maybe I think you could almost see in 2, but for sure 3 years worth of Luke Fickell to really get a handle on how does this all mesh. Are you going to be able to keep all your assistant coaches? I want to see what the program looks like for 3 years. And as much as I thought I knew what, I think a lot of us thought we knew what we were going to see. No, yeah, there were a lot of injuries, but it was not what we expected. And I think there's a little bit more small C chaos. It's not like, it's like, okay, a little unsettled here. Let's see what 3 years bring. Mm-hmm. That's not a good answer, but I don't really know what to expect right now with the Badgers and their transfers, who they're getting in.
Yeah, I honestly don't know either. So all right, tell you what, let's take a break, and then we'll do some picks and predicts. We've got some hoops. Bucks playing tonight. We'll even do some college basketball games on the docket here too. Heck, we'll even throw in a little NHL. How about that? Nice. We'll do some picks there. So quick break, and we'll be back to wrap up things after these few words. All right, let's wrap some things up here this morning with some picks and predicts brought to you by the Elbow Room in Eau Claire, which now carries Man Cave Light. Looking for somewhere to maybe catch some of these games to watch. Got impressive memorabilia all over the walls down there, but if you're looking for somewhere to watch the games, head on over to the Elbow Room and grab yourself a Man Cave Light. Let's start off with some hoops games, and we'll just start it off with Bucks and Pacers. So it's opening at open at 5.5. The spread now is at 6.5. Total 258.5 points combined, and I know that was the talking point into their in-season tournament, and it fell a little below. So anybody who bet the under, you got it.
Yeah.
So two things: pick the winner, and do they score more than 258.5 combined points?
IST rematch.
Yeah.
I'm branding it that way from that memorable performance last Thursday. I'll take the over on this. You said, and where's the game at?
Milwaukee.
Bucks played a lot of close games.
Mm-hmm. They're also 11-2 at home.
Yeah. I'm gonna take the Bucks covering. That I think there's gonna be it's not really a revenge. I mean, come on.
No.
But there's a little bit of okay, Pacers, that was cool. Here's why we're the Bucks and we're a better team than you for this entire season.
Yeah. I'll go Bucks. They cover, but they don't go over 258.5 total.
Okay.
I don't think they'll go there.
Pacers are cooling off.
I love that the pregame of that was all talking about this is going to be a lot of points. This is going to be a lot of points, and it was just kind of normal after that.
It wasn't a lot of points. I was expecting that too.
Everyone. I even told us when I picked up school, I'm like, there's going to be a lot of scoring tonight, and it was kind of average.
Yeah. Yes.
Quickly, we just kind of run down the rest of the slate here. Philly at Detroit. Philly. Do we even need to pick that one?
What's
Detroit?
the line on that? 20.5?
I'll find out for you. What is that line? Yeah, we should probably do the line on this one.
Detroit sucks.
11.5.
Oh, wow.
11.5.
I mean, I could zag and say this is where the Pistons break the streak.
I was going to say, their last win, the Pistons' last win, October 28th against the Bulls.
Let's go, Pete Traeger here. Let's go. Pistons, we're doing it.
They were
tonight.
2-1 at that point too.
Woo.
Winning record.
Wow.
They have Philly in a back-to-back. And then Milwaukee this Saturday.
You doing two-team tease?
God, don't lose to the Pistons.
Oh, boy. People freak out, and I get it, the Adrian Griffin thing. I get the criticism. But that loss to the Bulls, which is one of the only losses they've had really of late. And I made the mistake of checking the comments on Instagram, and oh my gosh, it's just the worst. I'm like, guys, it is one. Yes, there's criticism, but man, you'd think the Bucks were sub 500.
It is an interesting first quarter of the season because they're one game away from number one, but with all the comments and even from players too, Bobby Portis, you'd feel like this is a team that's at 500 or barely above it.
Well, I was listening to Bill Simmons' pod yesterday, had Doc Rivers on, and they were going through which teams are really in trouble, which teams do you really believe in.
And Bill has been one that says there's something weird about Milwaukee.
Yes, he said that in the podcast. He said he watched him in person, said there's not a good vibe from what he's seeing in person. And I tend to take what Simmons says about that sort of stuff with basketball. He's seen enough.
Yeah, because he was talking about the Giannis interactions with Adrian Griffin and such. And
yeah, all of that. He reiterated all of that. He said he's out. The question was, are they an NBA Finals team? And he disagreed with Doc Rivers. Said he doesn't think so. Rivers says yes. Rivers is they're not there now. They will be there later on. It takes time to figure this out. And Doc Rivers has seen enough as well that I take a lot of what he says. So, there's a case to be made both ways. No, the Bucks are not in a great spot now. They're in a spot, but there's a lot of season to go.
Yeah. Let's just run through these quickly here because I want to get to some college games too. Charlotte at Miami. Just pick a win.
I'll take the Heat.
I'll take the Heat too. Pelicans at Washington.
Oh boy, you mean the Northern Virginia Wizards?
Yeah.
My gosh. For
Sounds
those
like
who don't know, look it up.
Sounds like a Civil War Army unit right now.
Gosh, firing across the Potomac. Who's playing at
Washington,
who's playing at? Or who's the road team?
New Orleans.
Pelicans. The Wizards are another team that's just like, what are you guys? What? By the way, what happened to Jordan Poole? What got into him?
I don't know.
What's the deal?
I'll go Pelicans too. Atlanta at Toronto.
I'll take the Hawks.
I'll take the Hawks too. Memphis, Houston.
Wow. Well, beginning of the season, I would have gone completely opposite of what I'm going to do now. Houston.
I'll go Houston as well. Lakers and Spurs. Lakers at Spurs.
The Webby thing has kind of cooled off a little bit.
It has. Because the Spurs suck.
Yeah. Let's take the Spurs just because we're kind of due for one of those. Oh my gosh, what happened to the Lakers in a 3-day round of what does this mean for LeBron thing? We're due. So that'll come tonight.
I'll go Lakers. We got Brooklyn at Phoenix.
Suns.
I'll go Suns too. And then finally the Knicks at the Jazz.
I'll take the Knicks.
I'm going to go Knicks too. There's not a lot of good games both in NBA and college slate, but we do have some ranked teams in the college slate here. FIU versus number 15, Florida Atlantic.
Oh gosh. I'll take the Owls.
I'm gonna go FAU. Northwestern's in the top 25.
Wow, they do that occasional appearance.
Yeah, but they're going up against Chicago State. And Northwestern is favored by 24.5.
The Battle of Chicago. I'll take the under, but I'm taking Northwestern.
Yeah, Northwestern. I'm going to go over. Why not?
Well,
screw it.
Some bad beat territory there.
Yeah, Creighton, number 8 in the country, going up against UNLV.
I'll take Creighton.
I'll take Creighton as well. Maybe the better one, but really, I mean, it's BYU who's ranked 18th versus Denver.
BYU.
Yeah, I'll go BYU.
I feel pretty confident in a lot of these. We're back in the mismatch territory.
Yep. That one is 27.5. And Denver's got a winning record. They're 6-4 for crying out loud.
Yeah, well, it's going to be pretty close to not a winning record after it's tonight.
A couple of hockey games. Boston and the Devils.
Two good ones at New Jersey.
Yep.
I'll take Boston.
I'll go Boston too.
Put the accent on there.
And then we'll go Jets and Kings.
I'll go Kings.
Yep, Kings are 1.5 faves. By the way, Boston. The Devils are a 1.5 fave against Boston. So that.
Yeah. Hey, my Wild beat your Kraken the other night.
Yeah, we don't need to talk about that.
No,
we
did.
You know what? I was looking at the schedule, and the last game of the regular season, the Kraken come to Minnesota.
Are you going to be there?
I don't know. It's during the week.
Maybe you could take a vacation.
I don't want to take a vacation day. The week before the draft.
It's your Kraken. This is your team coming to your neck of the woods.
It's the week before the draft.
I know, but hey, so you're apparently not a Kraken fan?
I'm like quoting Jerry Maguire. I lost the number 1 pick a week before the draft.
Yeah.
It's a week before the draft, so I don't know. We'll see.
I mean, maybe if you can get in a luxury suite and you can do some scouting.
Well, you know what? By the time those two teams are playing, they might be giving away tickets.
That's true.
So, the way those two are playing right now.
It's true.
Not good.
No.
Let's do a fun bet.
Okay.
How many games does Draymond get suspended?
Oh, gosh. So his most recent one was 5, right?
Yep.
That was for the Gobert headlock. I think he goes 15. I think the league's like, dude, no. Before I saw it, I was like, is he gonna get kicked out of the league at this point? I think it's 15 though, because you don't want to get in player association stuff and the unions wait, stop, and it becomes a mess. I think it's 15.
Yeah. See you next year.
Yeah,
it'll be 2024 before we see Draymond.
Yeah, I know. See you next year sounds like it. Well, but it's not that long,
right? Yep.
But 15 games, yeah, it's going to get into literally next calendar year.
This guy, I know Barkley just went off on him on the DP show, but this guy. Go I think I think it was on the Maggie and Perloff show this morning. This is what's going to drive Steve Kerr to quit, is having to continue to deal with Draymond Green.
Can he just be gone?
I mean, he's not the same player either. On the court, right? He's lost a step.
Right?
Is it worth it?
The whole is this the last call for the Warriors. I don't know that they. Well, honestly, I don't know that it would work either way. I don't think they're that great. They're not winning with him being an excellent player this year. There's just not enough talent to go around that team right now.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
No.
And then he doesn't really show any remorse after it.
No.
He said after the game really quick, like I said, if I intended to do that, then I would feel awful about not being here. But my intentions were just to sell the foul. You guys have known me long enough. If I intended to do something, I'm not apologizing. But I did make contact with him, so I do apologize. It's a hard hit. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right. That's going to do it for us. Have a good rest of your day. We'll be back tomorrow morning, just past 6.